But I do want to circle back around to that now that we're having this conversation again, and this is actual roundtable format. So you talked about Jesus being the why, why you believe what you believe. But now that you've had time to think about it, I've asked you this, at least 2 or 3 times now, and this is kind of the rubber hits the road here, and this is the brass tacks. Coby, what convinced you that your God is real? And without the Bible God of the creator of the universe, according to your book, there is no Jesus. So Jesus is like, that's cool as far as why you believe, but what convinced you that the Bible that created the heavens and the earth and Jesus and the resurrection the crucifixion, the resurrection, like what was it that convinced you that all of that is true?
I guess we kind of get on the whole convincing thing. The main thing that convinces me that the God of the Bible is real is the Messiah was prophesied over thousands of years by different prophets chosen by God, and then and Jesus of Nazareth fulfilled the prophecies and even predicted his own death before it even happened. Then he rose from the dead, and we basically can prove that through the testimony and the blood of the martyrs. So also, the Bible accuses all men of evil, and I know my thoughts. I know what I do, what I can do. I know the things of this world, and it basically just opened up my eyes to understand that the Bible is 100% accurate to the prophecies that were fulfilled, and even us as humans and our nature and sin. So
Okay.
whenever it comes to the question of what
Coby,
convinces you, that's it.
Well, Coby, to save you and myself and the listeners time, like I'm not going to dive into textual history and validity. like we could have another 4-hour conversation just on that, right? What I want to know is there was a moment. There was a moment or a sequence that happened in your mind or in your life or whatever that convinced you that, okay, this God that I've never ever actually met or talked to, or like I have no way to demonstrate he's real, but I'm going to base my entire life and my family's lifestyle on this God and what he says is and isn't true or valid or right or wrong. What was that? I want to know what convinced you, because I wanted to convince me. I wanted to convince Jeff, and I wanted to convince Mike and Pasta and Steve and the rest of the world. Like, if it's true, I want it to convince all of us. But right now, everything you've shared, you've only convinced Coby. You're not convincing.
Wasn't that the question? What convinced me that the God of the Bible is real?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that's not testable. So how do we? So what you shared then? Okay, if that's true, what you shared, how do we test that? How do we test that so that convinces Jeff and Mike and myself and Pasta and Steve and the rest of the fucking globe that's accurate? Like, how do we test that?
I'm not sure how to test it.
Okay, so
simply by faith, I can say that.
Okay, so faith is a pathway to truth. Is that what you're telling me?
Faith is it could be.
No.
For myself, faith is, yeah.
No,
but what do you mean by as a pathway to truth?
Faith is in you take God out of the equation. Is faith the pathway to truth to anything else? Let's pretend gods aren't even in the conversation. Is faith a pathway to truth?
I can't really take God out of the equation. So for me, it's if you're talking about truth, I would say no. You can't put faith into truth. I guess you can't find truth by having faith in, I guess, what you see worldly, but as a Christian, I would say yes.
Okay, so you have this one thing in your life this one thing that you want to believe and you expect other people to believe just on faith, and you can't demonstrate it. Is that what you're saying?
Sure, I can demonstrate it.
Okay, how?
We can open up the Bible and start reading certain passages out of that.
That's circular reasoning. You can't do that.
What do you mean you can't do that?
You can't. That's like saying, and Jay might love it, and I'm stealing this 100% from him. But we don't open the science book and say the science book is real because the science book says it.
We can't open up the science book because the science book said it.
No, we can't. We can't say what is in the science book is real because the science book says it. Because anybody could have put the writing into the science book. We have to have demonstrable evidence that what's in it. Like we had to have experimentations and measuring and numbers and statistics and data to substantiate those claims, where with the Bible we can't do those things. So you're asking me and the entire world that doesn't believe to just take what you say on faith. And I'm sorry, I don't do that in any fashion or any form of my life. Like that's the one thing I always go back to is a business deal. If you and I are talking about a business plan and we're going to build a business and you come to me and say, well, Austin, just have faith that the numbers are going to work out and this is going to be profitable and we're going to make a ton of money, and I can't really show you data or numbers or analytics on it, I'm going to tell you to fuck off.
Y'all put me on the spot. Why y'all do that? Just make me all big on the screen. But sure, you can think like that. I guess if you want to talk about the whole science book analogy that you used, it's kind of flawed because it's not the science that speaks, it's the scientist. So how do you know that the scientists are accurate even if they test it?
Coby, science is measurable. We can measure it, we can watch it, we can observe it. Like that's science. Sure. We do all of those things. Guess what we can't do with God? Guess what we can't do with a God claim? We can't measure it, we can't test it, we can't prove it to be demonstrable. We can't do any of those things. But yet this being that created the entire fucking universe, right? And he has the ability to love all and be everywhere and know everything, right? And he should know exactly what it takes to convince me that he's real, but yet doesn't show up in my life to show me how he's real. Right? That should be very, very easy for him to demonstrate if he's all-knowing and all-powerful, and he actually really loves me and made me in his image. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to bring out to you. Because guess what? The only way that you can look at that on the other side of it and justify him not showing up and not demonstrating himself to me as a non-believer and a skeptic is, well, you got to believe it by faith, which faith is bullshit.